Welcome back to The Grind for a very quick video on Mojo. Now we are in the Cavalier event quest, but as you can see here, the only way you get the bonus from that node is if you nullify buffs. And Mojo only nullifies buffs with the special one, and we're not really throwing special ones primarily in these fights because that's not typically the Mojo style. However, Mojo deals with buffs in a very unique way, which does come in quite handy in many situations, and in doing so, he converts them into degeneration damage. So he reduces the duration of buffs. So it doesn't work for permanent buffs. As you can see, those Furies are stacking up and those are permanent, which we're not removing unless we use a special one. And then you have to complete your prompts to activate your anti-life field. And during the anti-life field is when any buff that activates will have a significantly reduced duration, and upon ending will both apply a degen on the opponent as well as a regen, a passive regen on you that will recover 3% of your missing health. And by completing these prompts, you start to build up your followers and subscribers or whatever that is. And then once you get to 5 or 6, you start putting hater buffs on the opponent. So it does act as a buff, which means when it expires, you will then apply a degen plus give yourself a regen. So it gives you more buffs to take advantage of. Now the first fight is more the ramp up, but as you can see now we're starting with 2 of our charges, and then our first prompt we can complete right away and get us to 3. And that will help to decrease the ramp up time required for you to really get into applying those hater buffs, which is when you're going to start to have more frequent degens and regeneration. So already about 18-20 hits into the fight, we're prolonging that anti-life field actually with this special attack, but that next anti-life field is going to expire soon here, so at 30 hits. And now we're going to soon activate our 5th one, which is going to kind of finalize our ramp up for this fight. So now we're applying hater buffs to the opponent, and that's giving us extra buffs to take advantage of. And ideally you want to use your special 2 with Mojo, because your special 2 will consume obviously 2 bars of power, and therefore and also gives you 5 degens on the opponent when you use it. The special 3 also gives you 5 degens on the opponent. So it's less efficient with your power. But one nice thing is, as you can see, before we threw the special 3, we had the stun prompt up. And using the special 3 immediately completes any prompt that was active at the time. So you want to wait until the anti-field expires, gives you your next prompt, and then throwing the special 3 will complete it. As you can see here, now we've immediately triggered the next anti-life field. And then the fight, unfortunately, was over. But so as far as damage goes, the special 2 is more efficient, but if you get an unfortunate prompt or it's a stun immune matchup, it might be good to hold on to your special 3 just in case you need to do a prompt that you otherwise would not be able to complete. Now, unfortunately, I have taken some hits and I'm pretty low health, but that means our regens are going to be healing more because it's based on the percent of missing health. So now we're at a point where we're getting more than 2% every time we trigger a regen. And I want to stay in my anti-life field as much as possible, because when those unstoppables trigger, I don't want them to be up for very long because they can definitely, mess you up. And we're doing okay now after that first mess up. And then the fight is actually already over. We pretty much had degeneration going constantly in this fight. I ended up making more mistakes right at the end before the degen ticked him down. Now we get to showcase some of Mojo's sustainability because we are very low on health, under 10%. We do have the bleed from Suicide Masteries on us, which ticks at least over 5% health because I have Coagulate, so it doesn't tick the full health away. But once we get into our anti-field and start having buffs expire on the opponent, we start to get regeneration, and we're down to 3% health here. So the special attack pushes us into the next anti-life field. We have hater buffs going on to Psylocke, which when they end are going to produce us with those regen buffs. And again, the regen is 3% missing health. So the lower your health is, the more you will regen from those passives. So Mojo can be very sustainable, but in that lower health range period. Now, unfortunately, the recording kind of glitched after this special 3, but we did finish off the fight without too much difficulty. Now we're going into this fight against Cosmic Ghost Rider with very little health, and we do have the bleed and poison on us from the Suicide Masteries. So we want to enter our a healing ability quickly. And so we have to finish our first prompt, which is stun. Now, every time a buff finishes, we're going to get a regeneration passive. And you'll see that even though we started very low and we had that bleed on us, we're able to sustain ourselves throughout this fight quite nicely. And we're able, now that we're ramped up, we're able to get into that damage state much more quickly. So we have a bunch of hater buffs on Cosmic Ghost Rider. We've got that Fury buff on us. And then pretty soon, he's just going to start to melt when all these buffs are expiring. And I'm throwing off the special 2, applying even more degenerations. And the fight ends up going by in about less than 40 seconds. There's, I think, 35 seconds for that fight. And again, we're not taking advantage of the Cavalier node at all. So we're not getting the added Fury bonus. And even though we had suicides on us, we ended that fight higher than with more health than we had when we started that fight. And I think we're going to do that again in this fight against Vision Age of Ultron. You can see we're quickly getting into the damage with those hater buffs stacking up. Now we have to back him into the corner with this prompt, and we did that pretty quickly, so we're getting more degeneration. And again, since we're already ramped up, we have the hater buffs going on quickly, so that gives us regeneration as well as degen on the opponent, even though he doesn't inherently have his own buffs triggering. We throw off a special 2 to get those 5 degenerations on him, and he starts to melt pretty quickly with that. Unfortunately, we did take a hit from that special attack, but we managed to survive, and now we've got our anti-field active, and we're triggering lots of hater buffs on him, so we're building up those degen buffs, or degeneration passive, sorry, on him, and he ends up finishing off pretty quickly. So Mojo is a ton of fun and has a lot of interesting uses, which I'm excited to showcase in the future in videos. So if you're interested in seeing those when they come out, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you in the next video.